Hello, and welcome back to Soma Talks, a space where body and mind meet. This is Agatha, and today's episode is about something almost all of us experience, and this is overthinking. It's imagining worst-case scenarios, replaying conversations, the loop in your mind that just won't stop, trying to solve everything all at once. And the strange thing is that even though it feels like you're doing something, like maybe you're even being productive, most of the time overthinking actually disconnects you, sometimes very deeply, from your body, from the present moment, and from clarity. So in this episode, we will explore what overthinking actually is from a psychological perspective, what happens in your brain and body when you overthink, why it feels so hard to stop, and how yoga and Eastern philosophy offer a completely different way of relating to thoughts. So if you are ready, let's begin. Firstly, let's start simple. What is overthinking? Overthinking isn't just thinking a lot. It's a specific pattern that psychologists often call rumination or worry loops. These are two main types of overthinking. Rumination is focused on the past. So, why did I say that? Why did I do that? Then the other type is worry, which is focused on the future. What if this goes wrong? What if the wrong scenario becomes reality? From a cognitive psychology perspective, overthinking is the mind trying to predict something, control something, or reduce uncertainty. But here is the paradox. The more you try to control uncertainty through thinking, the more uncertain and anxious you feel, because the mind starts generating more and more possibilities, not fewer. So instead of clarity, you get noise. And what happens in the brain? In a simple way, your mind has a kind of autopilot mode. It turns on when you are not focused on anything specific, or maybe you're just lying in your bed, walking alone, maybe just sitting in silence. And this mode starts doing what it does best, thinking about you, your past, your future, your relationships, your problems, your ego. It's like your brain becomes a storyteller. Now, this isn't a bad thing, of course. It helps you reflect, it helps you learn, imagine. But with overthinking, this storyteller doesn't know when to stop. It keeps going and going and going. And often it starts focusing on what went wrong, what could go wrong, what you should have done differently. At the same time, your body doesn't really know the difference between something that is actually happening and something that you're just imagining that is happening. So even if you are just lying in bed thinking, your body might react like something is wrong. You might notice tension, faster heartbeat, shallow breathing, all because of overthinking. So overthinking is not just in your head, but your whole system gets involved. And now, before we move on, let's pause here for a moment. Because the key question is, why did I decide to talk about overthinking? Because it has a huge cost. It has many symptoms and it has impact on our everyday life. It isn't just something abstract. It has very real effects on how we function. And you might already recognize some of these. One of the most common ones is difficulty with sleeping. You go to bed, your body is tired, but your mind suddenly becomes very active. Replaying the day, planning tomorrow, imagining scenarios. And instead of resting, your nervous system stays on. Another big one is mental fatigue. Even if you haven't done anything physically demanding, you feel exhausted. Why? Because your brain has been running constantly, processing, analyzing, looping, sometimes with very high intensity. You might also notice difficulty with making decisions. When you overthink, every option branches into more options, more pros, more cons, more what-ifs, so even small decisions start to feel overwhelming. Apart from that, there is also increased anxiety, because the mind tends to focus on potential problems, worst case scenarios, things outside of your control. And importantly, you might experience disconnection from the present moment. You're physically here, but mentally somewhere else, in the past, either in the future, either in imagined situations. And over time, this can also affect the body more deeply, causing, for example, tension headaches, tight shoulders and jaw, digestive discomfort, or shallow breath. So again, this is important. Overthinking is not just a habit of the mind, but it is a state that shapes your whole system and your well-being. And now it's the moment where somatox comes in, so the body connection in overthinking. Basically, when you overthink, your breath becomes shallow, as I mentioned. Your jaw tightens, your shoulders lift, your belly may contract, and the body becomes tense and alert, in simple terms. And here's the loop. A tense body feeds anxious thinking, and anxious thinking feeds a tense body. So trying to think your way out of overthinking often doesn't work. We need to come back to the body, because the system you are using in thinking, so the thinking mind, is the same system that has created the loop. This is why body-based approach is so powerful. It can help you come back to presence through sensations and not only thoughts. Apart from that, we also have Eastern philosophies that offer a great perspective on overthinking that can also be helpful if you struggle with it. So, in many Eastern traditions, especially yoga and Buddhism, which I often mention in Somatox, the problem is not thinking itself. It is how we relate to our thoughts. In yoga philosophy, particularly in the Yoga Sutras, the mind is described as a field of constant movement. Thoughts are like waves, always moving, always changing, rising and falling. Overthinking is not something wrong. It's simply when the waves of our mind become too fast, too chaotic, and we get pulled into them. Instead of watching the waves, we become the wave. And this is key. Suffering doesn't come from thoughts themselves, but from identifying with them. Believing this thought is true, this thought is me, I need to follow this thought. This is what causes us harm and suffering. In Buddhism, there's a very similar idea. Thoughts are seen as passing events in awareness, like clouds moving through the sky. You don't have to stop them, you don't have to control them, you don't even have to get rid of them. You just don't have to cling to them. And this is a huge shift, because most of us are trained to analyze every thought, solve every thought, and engage with every thought. But Eastern practices invite something else, observing without reacting, letting thoughts come and go, and returning to the present moment again and again. And this is where practices like meditation, breath awareness, and yoga become not just relaxation tools, but ways of training your relationship with your own mind. But of course, whoever tried those kind of techniques knows that overthinking might feel addictive, and it's not that easy to stop, it's not that easy to detach from. But overthinking really can feel weirdly comforting, because it gives the illusion of control. If I think about this enough, maybe I will solve it. Maybe I will prevent something bad. Maybe I will be prepared. This is how we are thinking, and your brain is basically saying, keep going, this might help. But most overthinking is repetitive, not solution-focused, and not actionable. It's like running on a treadmill, but mentally. And there is also a subtle reward. Each new thought can feel like progress, even if it leads nowhere. So your brain keeps looping. But the key is to get out of this loop. And we can use many practical tools based on body, mind, and awareness. So let's bring this into practice. Firstly, what to do when you detect overthinking in your patterns. Firstly, come back to the body. Notice your breath, feel your feet grounded, relax your jaw. You're not stopping thoughts. You're not fighting with anything. There is no resistance. You're just shifting attention and observing. And this is where the second technique comes in play. So labeling the thoughts, naming them. Gently name it as worrying, planning, replaying. You already know these patterns, just name them. This creates space for observation. You can also create a thinking container. So instead of suppressing as saying, I don't want to think about it, say, I will think about this later. So give your mind structure. Instead of worrying and thinking all the time, tell yourself that you will worry for 1 hour at, for example, 6 p.m. and that's it. And you don't have to worry all the other time during the day. This somehow helps. And also, if you try this technique, you will realize that actually when the time comes, when the slot comes that you designed for worrying, the worries might feel even weaker and you don't feel it as strong as you usually do. The fourth technique is very linked to the first one, so coming back to the body. This time, move the body. Make it dynamic. Walk, maybe stretch, maybe run, maybe do yoga. Movement interrupts mental loops, so you will see that you will feel much more relieved after some movement, after some physical exercise, instead of staying in those overthinking patterns that only drain your energy at the end of the day. And lastly, sit in stillness. This is a very difficult exercise for many people because it requires patience. Even a few minutes, start with 2-3 minutes of sitting in stillness. Watch thoughts come and go. Train the ability to not react but observe. You will see that at the beginning it's gonna be difficult, but with time you will get much more resilience and maybe you will finally become a bit more detached from your thoughts. Honestly, this is not the end of the list, but I chose those 5 techniques that work the best for me. I think that if you get into this journey of training your mind how to let go of such thoughts, you will explore many more ways that work the best for you. So I really encourage you to choose at least one technique and just delve into the topic. Really try to feel connection with your body, not only focus on your thoughts. And then you will see what works best for you. So let's close with this. Remember that overthinking is not a flaw. It's not a disadvantage of your mind. It's nothing wrong. It's normal. It's an overactive mind trying to protect you. And nowadays it's very common because we live in constant rush. We worry about so many things. We have so many opportunities and we really don't know what to choose. But not everything can be solved by thinking. Some things needs to be felt, experienced, and many of them need a lot of time. Sometimes clarity doesn't come from more effort, but it comes from space and allowance. So next time you notice overthinking, instead of asking, how do I stop this? Try asking, what is my body doing right now? Can I come back to this moment? I hope you liked this episode and it brought some value into your life. I hope you will find the techniques that I shared with you useful. Of course, if you know someone who struggles with overthinking, do not hesitate to recommend this episode. And I'm always open to your feedback, so let me know how it worked for you. Thank you for being here, and until next time. Soma Talks, Agata Daras.